Gentlemen, there's an old adage that says, you live and you learn. And that old adage even applies to fragrances. The journey, the fragrance journey, if you will. So in today's video, I want to talk about, in a way, my journey. If I could start my collection over, knowing what I know now, what 10 fragrances, and we're talking about just designers today, would I start with? Let's talk about it. What's going on, YouTube? I'm Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I talk about fragrances on this channel. I talk about style, give you some style tips, fashion, grooming, that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon as well, so that way when I upload a new video, you'll be one of the first people to get notified. So guys, you heard me in the intro. I'm going to be talking about, I started my collection over today, knowing what I know now. All the knowledge that I've come into on this fragrance journey, my likes, my dislikes, all these different elements. What are the 10 designer fragrances that I would start with? I'm probably going to do a niche version of this as well, but today is just designers. Looking forward to sharing this with you because this gives me a chance to really just, talk about some fragrances I love and really expand upon that knowledge that I've obtained since I've gotten into this hobby. So this is going to be fun for me. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. So if you want to see what I have on my list, you know the routine, keep it locked right here. Let's get it.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. Let's jump into the video really quickly. Don't forget, guys, for the next week or so, Navitus Parfums is going to be running an amazing sale. The more you buy, the more you save. I'll flash it across the screen here. I'll have my link, of course, in the description box, and I will actually link it as well, pin the comment. Go support, man. Go support me, support the brand. I have 5 fragrances that I did with Navitus Parfums, and again, I would appreciate the support. If you don't have my fragrances yet, that you pick them up, especially at a discount. All right, so make sure you head over to Navitus Parfums and support your boy. All right, so the first fragrance that I have that I would keep, this is one of my top designer fragrances of all time. Now, what I want to say about this list is going to differ slightly from my 10 designer fragrances for the rest of my life. That's a different list of fragrances. Now, obviously, there are some on this list that will be on that list, but all 10 of these wouldn't make my 10 for life. Whole nother topic of conversation. But I'm going to give some, on a lot of these, my rationale for starting with these 10. But this first fragrance is just one of my favorites, so that's one of the reasons. And I also like this fragrance because of the unique factor. And this is from the brand of Tom Ford, and this is Noir. Noir Extreme. Any of you guys that have been rocking with me for a while know how much I love this fragrance. And it has cardamom, coffee, vanilla, amber, sandalwood, some of the main notes. It smells phenomenal. Let's just start there, all right? This is this kind of scent profile that I typically gravitate towards. Now, one of the other things that I love about this fragrance is that unique factor. I can't think of any other fragrances that have that coffee accord that this fragrance has, which is an Indian dessert. And if I'm not mistaken, coffee can come in different flavors, all right? And I think the accord that they try to create with this one is pistachio. So you kind of get that nutty nuance, that sweetness is very creamy. Again, it's sweet because you have sandalwood in here. They have the coffee accord in here. You have a vanilla kind of accord in here as well. So this fragrance is just right up my alley for what I love in a fragrance, naturally. And then, of course, the unique factor of it as well. I haven't really smelled anything like this. I'm sure there's something out here that hints at this DNA. I haven't smelled it yet, but it's definitely unique from that perspective of that coffee accord in here. So great fragrance, unique, all these things that I love about a fragrance as far as note breakdown, the way the scent profile, how it comes across on the skin. Love this fragrance. So definitely one that I would start with, knowing what I know now from the brand of Tom Ford. This is one of my favorites, Noir Extreme. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would start with, if I would start my collection over, the next designer fragrance that I would keep is one from the brand of Giorgio Armani. It's Acqu Di Gio Profondo. Acqu Di Gio Profondo. Love this fragrance. Rosemary, sage, incense, patchouli. Now, I've said this a million times, but the original Acqu Di Gio, like most of you probably out there, was one of the first fragrances that, you know, really got a lot of us that are around my age into fragrances, man. I mean, when that fragrance hit the market, I'm pretty sure most of you watching this video at some point in time has had a bottle of the original Acqu Di Gio. It is one of the best-selling men's fragrances of all time. Now, what they did here, they kept that whole aquatic nuance that made the first fragrance so famous, and they added that incense and patchouli, and they increased the versatility of this fragrance. So while I love the original Acqu Di Gio, to me, hands down, this is my favorite iteration of all of the Acqu Di Gio flankers that have come out so far. This is still my favorite. It's practical, it smells great, it's an easy grab, and again, it's a flanker of the most popular or most sold men's fragrance of all time. They just made it better. So I'll definitely have to keep this one, or I would start my collection with this one versus the original one. From the brand of Giorgio Armani, Acqu Di Gio Profondo. If I was starting my designer fragrance collection over, this is definitely one of the first 10 fragrances I would add to my collection. From the brand of Hermes, this is Terod. Now, this fragrance, obviously, of course, you have that orange note in the opening. You have the flint, which gives that really almost rooty, that with the vetiver, that rooty kind of earthy, dirty kind of, it's a dirty orange fragrance. That's the way a lot of people describe it. And that's what the flint in the vetiver does, give for that earthiness, that edge for what would be kind of typical orange citrus fragrance. Now, the reason I would start with this one, because I work in an office environment. And still to this day, when I think about designers, as good as Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver is as an office fragrance and Prada alone, this is still my preference. This is my preference for an office fragrance. It's my favorite office fragrance. This is something I wear office, maybe interviews, anything like that. I love this one. It's fresh with the orange, but then it has that kind of sophistication that's added with that vetiver and that flint note in here. So gotta have a nice office fragrance. So this is one that I would start with. This is my favorite in that particular category or genre of fragrances. So definitely one, if I was starting over, I would add. First, from the brand of Hermes, this is Terod Hermes. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would actually start with if I was starting over is from the brand of YSL. And this is Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. And this has cardamom, ginger, lavender, cedarwood as some of the main notes. This line, the Nuit de l'Homme line, is so good. Of course, the original Nuit de l'Homme, one of the best date night fragrances, I think, on the planet. I love that one. I wanted to choose something from that line because to me that line is so good. The original L'Homme, and they have the Nuit de l'Homme line. The new one that came out, I think it's Nuit de l'Homme or L'Homme Les Parfums. There's so many good ones in the Les Parfums and the Nuit de l'Homme line. But to me, this just smells the best. Just smells the best. This thing gets so many compliments when I wear it, and it has that, it smells like Nuit de l'Homme, but it has this kind of blue, as the name indicates, undercurrent that runs through the heart of this fragrance that really just, to me, when you talk about versatility, makes it an even more versatile fragrance. Now, again, you get the Nuit de l'Homme DNA with a little bit of a blue DNA, and I absolutely love that. So definitely one that I would keep because from that line of fragrances, all those fragrances, this just smells freaking phenomenal. From the brand of YSL, Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would get if I was starting over would be one of the fragrances from the Maison Margiela line of fragrances, and this one is by the Fireplace. By the Fireplace. I would definitely have to get this one. Cloves, chestnut, vanilla, Peru balsam, and cashmere are some of the main notes of this fragrance. And this one, to me, just kind of, it was a game changer for me when I got it. You know, I got it relatively earlier on in my journey, but it was a game changer when I put my nose on this fragrance. It opened up my mind to what designer fragrances could be. Sincerely, it was a game changer to get a fragrance that, you know, as the name indicates, by the fireplace. It was just something, it did something in my mind, and this is exactly what it smelled like. That a fragrance could really take you to a specific setting and emulate that setting through the scent. Scents, of course, was just kind of fascinating to me. This was the first one I got from the replica line. Just a game changer. And again, you get that chestnut on here. It smells like you're sitting actually by a fireplace. All right, because you have that chestnut in there, so it's smoky. That cashmere and Peru balsam give that warm, almost coniferous kind of feel to the fragrance. Phenomenal. Phenomenal scent. Definitely a game changer for me. So it's one that I would start with now. From the brand of Maison Margiela, the replica line, by the fireplace. All right, the next fragrance has so much nostalgia and the whole nine surrounding it for me personally, but I would keep this because, simply put, this is my favorite designer fragrance of all time. From the brand of Mugler, this is Pure Havana. Pure Havana. This is honey, tobacco, cacao, patchouli, vanilla. My God. I don't need to say much about this. I would start, if I were starting over, I would start with this one because this is my favorite designer fragrance. Period, point blank, end of discussion. I love everything about this fragrance. I wore it the other day. It reminded me why I love this fragrance so much. It's a shame it's been discontinued. I do have a backup bottle of this. This one is probably just about halfway gone. So definitely backup bottle. I needed one because I want to have this in my collection the rest of my life. Hands down, this is my favorite designer fragrance of all time. So I would have to start with this if I was starting over because I love it that much. From the brand of Mugler, this is Pure Havana. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I would get initially if I was starting this over is my favorite from this line of this iteration of fragrances. From the brand of Chanel, this is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Bleu de Chanel Parfum. You talk about a Swiss Army knife. This fragrance has notes of lemon, mint, lavender, isoe super, tonka bean. And as I always say, when you compare this to the original and the EDP, they really amped up the wood. So for somebody my age, this is the most appropriate or my favorite because it's more woody. That amber wood, that sandalwood in here that you get when it dries down. Just a phenomenal scent. Again, like I said, you talk about a Swiss Army knife, a fragrance that can be worn anytime, any place, anywhere. And of those fragrances that offer that kind of versatility, I already have Acqu Di Gio Profondo, but I need this one as well. I need a Swiss Army knife. And you talk about Chanel, you get pure quality. So why some people may probably throw a YSL Y or something like that, this blows those fragrances out of the water. This is one of those fragrances along with Dior Sauvage to me that really started the blue craze. And this is my preference of that and Dior Sauvage, this one by a hair. So definitely one I would start with from the brand of Chanel. This is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. All right, guys, this next fragrance, oh my God. I fell in love with fragrances that kind of give that apple pie kind of feel. I actually love it so much I did a video because I actually have about 10 plus fragrances that have a similar scent DNA. I know that may be overkill, but I love fragrances that have that scent profile. When I find out about another one, I'm always interested in getting it because there are some small nuances between them. But anyway, when we talk about designers, this is the fragrance that kind of opened my mind up on the designer side of things to that whole apple pie vibe. All right, this is one of the first ones I put my nose on and opened my mind up to that kind of scent profile. From the brand of Paco Rabanne, this is 1 million Privé. 1 million Privé. This is cinnamon, blood orange, tobacco, myrrh, tonka bean. This is just, you talk about a phenomenal scent. And like I said, the reason I love it is because I so fell in love with that scent profile, and this is the first fragrance that introduced me to it. This is my backup bottle. I actually have another bottle that's probably 2/3 of the way finished. So this should be enough for me, hopefully. Another one that's been discontinued, unfortunately, but it's a phenomenal scent. I love that scent profile. All right, so definitely one I would start with if I was starting over from the brand of Paco Rabanne. This is 1 million per bag. All right, guys, the next fragrance that I will keep comes from the brand of Valentino. And this is the original Valentino Uomo. Valentino Uomo. This is hazelnut, cacao, roasted coffee, leather. Man, listen, there are so many great fragrances from this Valentino line. The Valentino Uomo Intense almost made it, but there's another fragrance with a very similar scent profile, and I'll talk about that in a moment, that I have a slight preference for. But man, this one is so unique. You talk about that roasted coffee and that hazelnut note. And there's also a note of myrtle in here that kind of gives this freshness to the fragrance when it opens up. And this is, to me, the more unique fragrance of the Valentino line. Again, the Valentino Uomo Intense kind of smells like DHI and some of the other fragrances out there. But this one is very unique. I love it. It's creamy. You get the coffee in there. Again, you get the hazelnut. Very unique fragrance. A little bit slept on in my humble opinion. But I love it. It's one, of course, that obviously I love because I have it on this list of a fragrance I would start with. More guys need to put their nose on the original Valentino Uomo from 2014. So anyway, what I would definitely start over with from the brand of Valentino, this is Valentino Uomo. All right, guys, and last but not least, the last fragrance that I would start with, if I could only have 10 to kind of start my designer collection over, would be this one from the brand of Prada. Prada L'Homme Intense. Prada L'Homme Intense. This is iris, this is amber, patchouli, tonka, sandalwood, and leather. Now, I just talked about that scent DNA. When people talk about lipsticky fragrances, right? And that comes from the powdery nuance that you normally get from an iris and an orris note in fragrances. Now, you have the original, the DHI, Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme Parfum. Then you have the Valentino Uomo Intense, Prada L'Homme Intense. They all have a very similar scent profile, but you know what? This one has the best performance. This is probably definitely one of my top 5 when you talk about performance designer fragrances in my entire collection. This fragrance is so well done. It smells great, and I really want to, if I was starting over, have one of those fragrances that have that scent profile because I really do enjoy it. Again, it's really a leather fragrance at the end of the day, but it's sweetened up with that, and then it has that powdery nuance with the iris and the whole nine. But of all the ones, the DHIs, Valentino Uomo Intense, I give a slight edge to Prada L'Homme Intense. This is so good. And like I said, for me, this performs all day. You know, definitely get a strong 8+ hours of performance out of this fragrance. And again, Prada, some of the names, brands that I talked about on this list, Prada, you have Valentino, you have Chanel, you have Giorgio Armani. You know, some of the designer brands that do things the right way when you talk about quality, that's what you'll see a lot on this list. But anyway, definitely one that I would keep if I was starting over, from the brand of Prada, Prada L'Homme Intense. But that is it, guys. That is my time. I hope you enjoyed this video today. What are some designer fragrances you have in your collection? If you were starting over, what are some designer fragrances that you would start with? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section. Now, as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys' time and attention to these videos. I know you don't have to watch, but you do, and I sincerely appreciate that. Now, don't forget to take a few moments to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks that you think could use the information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darren. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.